And we want to dig deeper, actually, into that point specifically, what we can expect to be the big topics tackled by the candidates tomorrow night. NewsNation political editor Chris Stirewalt here now. Chris, it's great to see you. And can we start with what Markey just said? Because we do know that Beto, on the one hand, he's been talking about mass shootings and abortion rights. We know that Abbott has been focusing on the border. Are either of them focusing on the economy enough?
Well, Texas is a big state and governor's an important job. But there's not that much that the governor of Texas can do about the economy. And there's not that much that the governor of Texas can do about inflation. What Abbott wants to do is tie Beto ORourke to Joe Biden and the National Democratic Party, because one of the ways that Beto ORourke has been a more successful than usual Democratic politician statewide in Texas has been by saying, I'm a different kind of Democrat. I'm not like the rest of those Democrats. I'm a Texas Democrat, which is something different. What Abbott needs to do, and what he's been very obviously trying to do, is to say Beto ORourke hangs out with coastal elites. He hangs out with liberals from the left coast, and that's where his attitude is. That's where his fundraising is. And he's just like Joe Biden, and he's just like the rest of the Democrats. And when it comes to inflation, that's going to hurt ORourke. That obviously has to hurt ORourke because Texans are hurting. They don't like the state of the economy. They don't like the situation with inflation. So they're going to, that's the smart place for Abbott to go.
Okay. So, the latest numbers show that Abbott is leading ORourke by 8 points. What would Beto need to do to close that gap at this point?
Well, that's not that much. I mean, it's a lot. But this is not a race that's out of hand. And Greg Abbott made a strategic choice, which is to only have one debate. Of course, he had to have it. And if I may say just a little brag word for a second, because of the power of local journalism and because of Nexstar family and because of the credibility of the local journalists on the ground, he couldn't get out of doing any debates. And he had to do a debate, and he had to do it with our family. And that's cool. So here's to local journalism. But he made a choice, which is to only do one debate. And so that's good if you're in the lead and you're the incumbent. You want fewer debates. That makes sense. It's understandable. But it comes at a price. And the price is that you only get one shot at this. And if you mess it up and it changes the trajectory of the race, you don't have another one to try to put the toothpaste back in the tube. So the pressure is high on both of them. ORourke comes into this debate needing a change in the direction of the race. But Abbott, if he makes a mistake, if he has a bad outing, if he says something that lives on virally and is reported on local stations around the state over the weekend and into the next week, it could change the tenor and trajectory of the race. So Abbott has made a strategically understandable decision, but it also freights this debate with so much consequence for this contest.
Interesting. I mean, we're talking about stakes, and let's stay on that for a moment. Can you talk a little bit more about what this moment is for Beto? Because, when you look at his trajectory, we saw him emerge with some momentum, quite a bit of momentum, actually, in 2018 when he was racing Ted Cruz. Then his 2020 presidential campaign, did not go his way. He is an underdog now in this governor's race. What are the stakes for him in terms of his actual career?
Well, let's think about debates. In 2018, part of the reason that he was not able to prevail over Ted Cruz, who's, not a popular among statewide elected officials in Texas, is not one of the most popular. He came up short against Cruz in part because of a really bad first debate performance. ORourke came in too hot, was overmodulated, didn't have a good debate, had sky high expectations, came into the debate, and he failed. And as a consequence, and I won't say that's exactly why he lost the debate, but lost the election, but it sure did not help. ORourke has leads with the heart, right? He's a very emotive and emotional candidate. It's about emotional connection, and it's about the sincerity that he feels on these issues and connects to voters, which is great, except for the fact that when you come into a debate setting like this, and by the way, they're going to face some very tough questions from a panel of our colleagues. When he comes into this situation, he's got to look like the governor of Texas. Texans, as you know, take being from Texas very seriously. And he better come in and be able to show, maybe I'll put it this way. His job is he's got to get Greg Abbott off his game and got to get Greg Abbott to make a mistake and do something that will live on after this debate. But if he comes in too hot, if he's overmodulated, he'll freak people out and it will have the opposite effect. So he has to really split the difference between those two things. So he's got a tough job.
It's a difficult balance.
Politician.
I mean, that's a difficult balance. Chris Stirewalt, I certainly appreciate your time tonight. I am walking into this debate even with more insight, and I know what I'm looking for. Thanks to you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.